Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the CYMS Hourly Care webinar. My name is Silas Atkins. I work for Vermont Systems, and we are the makers of CYMS. Also joining me is Sylvia Sawyer, who is the CYP CYMS Program Analyst with CNRSE. She will be keeping track of the questions for this session, and we will try to answer those as best as possible at the end of the session. Please enter your questions in the chat box, and like I said, we'll try to answer them the best we can during this session. Anything we can't answer at this time, we will follow up with and make sure it's distributed to everyone that participated in this webinar. If you think of a question after the webinar is complete, please email Sylvia directly, as she is the current subject matter expert for CYMS for the Navy Southeast region, as well as for the entire Navy CYP operation. All right, so I do have her information up on the screen. I'll leave that up here for just a moment while folks get that jotted down if they need to, or if they already have it. And I'll continue with the next portion here. Please note that this webinar is meant as an introduction to familiarize you with the hourly care process in CYMS. For full details, see the CTG 06 Hourly Care Guide, which was distributed by Sandy Powers from the region. The My Hourly Care submenu contains hot buttons for the various programs that will be used during this process. And if you do not have access to anything that you see on this screen, then please do contact Sylvia so we can arrange to give you access to the tools you need to do your job in CYMS. So I am here on the My Hourly Care screen. Most folks will start on a screen similar to this, just clicking the My Hourly Care to access all the pieces I will show you today. Additionally, due to Navy CYP offering hourly care in existing classrooms through rotating child vacancies, CNRSE has created a Navy Hourly Care Available Space tool for determining the hourly care spaces that should be available for each program. This program-specific resource is available on the CYP e-library. There is one for SAC and one for CDC. Finally, hourly care in CYMS must be implemented so that when CYP Online is available, parents have accurate information on hourly care availability and can make reservations online. The goal is to lighten the load for the front desk and everyone involved in hourly care. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get started. The first part of hourly care is slots. CYMS requires that slots, or hourly spaces, be created to show per age group what times hourly care is available at each center. In my case, for my example, I have already used the Navy Hourly Care Space Available Space tool and determined that there is room for one infant for the next 30 days. I'm going to move over here to my hourly care slot creator. In here, I am focusing first on my infant care room. And so up here, I'm going to pick that room from my list of available age groups. I say room, it's actually an age group. I apologize for that. So for infant hourly, I'm going to select that from my center. At this time, I'm only generating for infant hourly, as that's the only space, the only age group that I've processed for. I'm going to start with the date of today, and then move 1 year into the future. The reason for this is to create 12 months of holding place vacancies that can then be adjusted as needed going forward using the Hourly Care Space Available tool. Next, I need to verify that the times that my center is open and that hourly care is available are accurate. Here, I will enter 30 minutes, which is the recommended time slots for being able to book hourly care. My max booking count equals the max number of infants that I can take for hourly care in this instance. Additionally, the days of the week that I accept reservations needs to be accurate, in this case for Navy CYP Monday through Friday. And finally, I need to put in skip dates. These are dates that Navy CYP will not offer care due to federal holidays or other closings. So in this example, I'm just going to put the first 3 that come up this year, which are Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, and Memorial Day. In addition, I would, of course, be wanting to put in all the dates that fell within this time range, and I would go ahead and put those in. I won't take that time right now for the sake of time. All right, so I've verified that everything is accurate. I have my 1 spot for infant at 30-minute intervals for the times that I'm open, Monday through Friday. Skip my dates, and I'm ready to generate. This message will pop up noting that it will not overwrite anything I've already done, but will generate new spots based on my criteria. I'm going to click yes, and it's going to generate my slots. Now that I've completed that, if I've also done the hourly care space tool, for my other age groups, I can move on to those age groups and generate them as well. If all of the information is the same, all I have to do is adjust my booking count, for example 2 in this case, and hit generate, and I'm also going to generate my slots for this age group. Once I'm completed with generating my slots, I can exit this program. Again, that's the hourly care slot creator. This is generating what availability I have for the particular age groups of care that I offer at my center. Next, we're going to look at making a reservation in those hourly care slots. So now that I have hourly care availability, I'll make my reservation. There are multiple scenarios for booking. However, I will only cover reserving a single child for 1 day in this example. To make reservations, I'll click on my Hourly Care Reservations button. Here I see a grid of all of my age groups laid out. In my case, I have all of them as I'm overseeing reservations for both centers, CDC and SAC. Your view will change depending on what you have availability for at your particular center. So in my case, I have an infant that is going to occupy that 1 slot. So on this screen is my current view of weeks. I have Monday through Friday of this week. In this case, I have an infant that wants a booking for 1/12/15, which is next week. And so I can click my next week button, and now I see 1/12 is available. I'm going to click on that button, and here I see all the available times that I have based on how I generated my availability. In this case, this child will need care from 8 a.m. until 12:30, keeping in mind that this time is when the availability that they are booking ends. So keep in mind that you are starting your time here and ending it here. Next, I'm going to reserve my reservation for this child. Find the child on the list, verify it's the child that I'm looking for, and select them. At this time, any outdated shots that are past due or coming due will display. This is a good opportunity to let the parent know that they will need to provide record of these shots before the child can attend their reservation. Because this reservation is the future, I will click yes and allow them to bring in the shots prior to the reservation. Once complete, if I had more reservations to do, I could re-enter hourly care reservations and make those reservations as needed. Again, there are multiple scenarios you might do. For more details on this, look at guide CTG 06. Okay. One question that came in prior to this webinar starting was the best way to see what availability you have. In my recommendation, using the hourly care reservations button, picking the date you want to look at using this calendar button, and then selecting the date and age group that you're looking at is the best way to see what's available for that day, including how many spaces you have. All right. Once we've made reservations, it's important that we print a list of which children will be attending on the day, each morning, before those reservations start. The report that I will use to do that is the hourly reservation report 2. This report allows me to print specific reservations for just my program for whichever dates I want to look at, typically one day at a time, to ensure if any changes happen that you have an updated list, and also includes any special needs that the child may have. Identified needs, I apologize. New term, identified needs. Okay? We'll not go into the specifics of running this, as there are instructions in the documentation. I will, however, show the result of running this report and what it looks like. In this example, this report has been run to show the children, the times that they are attending, their age, and a place for parents to sign in and out. In addition, we have a spot for an emergency phone. This is just one example of how this report can be run, and final instructions may be provided later if a standard is introduced from CNRSE. Note that the children here have an asterisk beside their name. For those children, I will go to my second page and see their name listed with what their identified need may be. Okay. Next, if a particular parent calls up asking when they may have made a reservation or asking for more information about their reservation, the best way to, one way to look at that, I should say, is to use household inquiry. So my parent that just reserved that infant spot for Monday wants to make sure they gave the right times. Once I get to this screen, I have my court reservation button. Please keep in mind, and this is mentioned in the guide as well, CYMS uses the court module, which is borrowed from another part of our software, for hourly care times. So anything referring to court equals hourly. This button will show my reservations, the reservations for this household. The default view shows it broken down by time frame, time slot. If I turn on show them all at once, I can just see that it's on this date, from this time to this time, and this age group for this child. In addition, if the parent wanted to see anyone previous reservations they had canceled to verify, you can turn that on as well. Okay, again, that's household inquiry to show hourly reservations. In addition, there are other methods to see what is currently booked, which can be accessed through the CTG 06 Hourly Care Guide. The next item that may come up is when a parent calls to modify or completely cancel a reservation for a child. To do that, I'm going to use hourly cancel change. In my case, I have a family that has made multiple reservations over multiple days. One of their children, Aiden, has a reservation on the 8th and 9th of this week. His sister, Katie, has a reservation on the 9th. I'm going to select Aiden. And by default, it highlights Aiden and shows me all reservations within the specified date range. In this case, the parent has indicated that they want to shorten the reservation for 1/8/14 for Aiden. To look at this, I'm going to change my date to just the date that I want to look at for Aiden. By doing this, I'm showing only Aiden's reservation, with Aiden highlighted, and only the date in question. And here is his entire reservation. The parent has indicated that they want the reservation to end at 1400. Therefore, I'm going to highlight the additional time they no longer want, doing so by clicking over here and dragging down with my mouse. And then I'm going to click Cancel Selected Reservations. This will ensure that I only cancel what is highlighted and leave the rest intact. The warning message will pop up to make sure that you have, in fact, selected what you want to cancel. Once I click Yes, those are no longer there, and now the reservation is the current length that the parent wants. In addition, the parent has asked that the entire reservation for Katie be canceled on the 9th. To do this, I'm going to select the 9th from the calendar and highlight Katie, so I'm only showing her reservation. In this case, the entire reservation needs to be canceled, so I can cancel all reservations in browser. Again, a warning to make sure I want to do this. I click Yes, and that is now gone. At this time, if I am complete, I can click HHFM Lookup to leave the program. Or if I want to print a log for the parent, I can do so now with this button. By clicking HHFM Lookup, if I have not printed the log, it will also ask me if I want to print it. In this case, I am going to print it because I want something to give to the parent to have a record of what they did. So the parent canceled these times for Aiden, and all of this for Katie. This form can be handed to the parent for their records. If I had another family I needed to make a modification to, I could go ahead and do that, or if I'm complete, exit out. Okay. I mentioned earlier that when we were creating our hourly slots using the hourly care slot generator, I did them for a 12-month period as a holding place. Since hourly care needs will change based on attendance by full-time and part-time children within your program, it is imperative that the hourly care space available tool be used on a regular basis to keep these numbers accurate. It's especially important with the implementation of CYP Online so that parents are getting accurate numbers when they log in to the website. This ensures that there is no overbooking and ensures there are no staffing problems covering the extra additional hourly care children. In this case, I have used the tool and determined that I have room for an additional infant the week of 1/12/14, which is next week. To update it, I'm going to use this button here, Hourly Reservation Max Count Bump. In this program, again, I am going to pick the age group I'm working with, in this case an infant room. And the dates I'm working with are the full week of January 12th. In addition, I have to indicate to CYMS what times that is available. In this case, it's the entire week, as there's an anticipated vacancy due to a child being on vacation. Next, I need to set my max head count. Please keep in mind that this is not a number that will be increased or decreased. You are entering the total number that can be accepted in that week. In this case, my vacancies equal 2, so I'm going to put that number here. This indicates my one ongoing vacancy due to not being full in the room, and in addition, my second vacancy for the child being on vacation. Going to click Process, yes to continue, and it's now complete. If I exit and go back into my hourly care reservations, I can pick next week and look at my Monday reservation. Here I see that my child that I booked earlier is still there, but by increasing my slots, I have now made one additional spot available for this child. For another child, I apologize. In addition, on the times that are not booked for this child, there are 2 vacancies available for a parent to make hourly care reservations. Next, I am going to show the steps in charging no-show fees for parents that have made a reservation but have not shown up for the reservation and have not called to cancel. It's now Monday the 12th, and the child that I booked on the 12th has not shown up for their appointment. No call from the parent or email to indicate they would not be there. Therefore, they need to be charged the no-show fee per the hourly care fee policy. In my case, on my screen, I have a no-show fee posting button here. Depending on the menu you have and the buttons you have, there may also be the option for this at the end of day. It is encouraged that you run this process at the end of your working day to make sure that you capture all children that may have not shown up throughout the course of the business day. In this program, I will leave my dates at the default, as I should be running it nightly for that day's transactions. In my case, for this example, I will have to move it to the 12th, as that is the date of the reservation. So we're pretending it's Monday right now. It is the 12th. I am looking for that. In addition, it's important to note that this bill code needs to reflect a bill code that goes to your cost center for your center. If you're unsure of this, please contact Sylvia as your SME to make sure that it is set up properly in your database. Because the policy is that a $4 per hour fee will be charged per hour of the reservation up to a max of $15, we want to set our fee at $4 and set our toggle to hourly. Next, I click Process. This will not finalize the charge, but will instead bring me to this screen where I can determine if all the children on this screen should be charged a no-show fee. For example, if this child had at the last minute called and I had forgotten to cancel their reservation using the hourly cancel change, I may want to remove them from the list to make sure they don't get a charge when they did in fact call. The second piece here is that for any child with a fee count greater than 3, we need to make an adjustment to the fee. This is based on CYMS not having the capability of maxing out the hourly care no-show fee at $15 per Navy policy. To combat this, I'm going to change my fee count to 1 and my no-show to 15. So make sure that for a child that exceeded a 3-hour reservation window, they'll be charged the correct fee. If my fee count was 2 for a child, I will leave things as is because this will charge a count of 2 times $4 for a total of $8 for a 2-hour reservation. In my example, however, because this was higher than 3, I do need to make that adjustment. Once this is complete, I'm going to click on the Post button to finalize it. If I want to make sure that all the math works out, I can click Journal Only. And this will provide just a report of what will happen when I process. Note the Journal Only flag here. And it's not posted. This has not been added to the household account yet. This is a validation to make sure that the right fee will be charged to that parent. Once it is complete, I'm ready to click Post. Yes, I want to continue, and I want to charge that fee to the household. Here we can see that for that household, a $15 fee has been posted to their household. In addition, I'm going to leave this open for the next portion. Due to Navy hourly fee policy that 2 no-shows equates to a 30-day suspension of hourly care privileges, we need to record on the household that this child did not show for this reservation. So using this list, I'm going to exit the program, and I'm going to go into the household record using the HH member update. I'm going to look up the first name on the list, in this case my only name on the list. Select that household, and go directly to the emergency miscellaneous info screen. On this screen, in the household comments, I'm going to enter information about the first hourly care no-show. Included in this should be the date that it happened and my initials. So my first hourly care no-show was at the VSI CDC 5 on the 7th, I apologize, wrong date, on the 12th of January, and my initials are here. I'm going to click Done, and that will be saved on the household. That person now has been flagged with 1 no-show. Okay. An additional piece in the hourly care fee policy is ensuring that the entire reservation is charged for. There are 2 scenarios for that, which are both covered in Guide CTG 06. I will not get into them now based on the factors that go into them. Okay. Now, previously I mentioned that we had that child that had a no-show, and we added the note to their household. Now they've again made a reservation for the 28th of January and have not shown up for that reservation as well. I go through the no-show fee posting process, post that fee to their account to be collected later, and I now need to make my comment on the household showing that they had a second no-show fee. So I'm going to go back into my household member update for this family. Go back to my emergency miscellaneous info screen and add a second line here. Placing my mouse at the end and hitting enter to start a second line. Here, I'm going to make a note that they had a second hourly care no-show at the same CDC. Could be any seed in this case, but in this case it was the same one, along with my initials, and click Done. I now have a record of that history. In addition, I will want to go to My Home and use the Registered Member Update button to enforce the 30-day suspension of hourly care privileges. This is an especially important step to ensure that that family cannot make a reservation online. I need to select the specific child in this case. And here I'm presented with information about their registration, their pass. What I need to do is set my current status to suspended and set the dates that their privileges are suspended. In this case, their second reservation was on the 28th. So on the 28th, they are no longer eligible for hourly care. And I need to go 1 month in the future to the 28th of February. In addition, I will add a comment indicating that they do have a 30-day suspension for 2 hourly care no-shows with my initials and the date that I completed this modification. Once I click Done, now If I try to make an hourly care reservation for that child, I will get warning messages in CYMS, and the parent will get a warning message online as well. That concludes the overview of hourly care. I will now take a moment to see if we have any questions that I can answer in this session, so please bear with us while we do so. Okay, at this time I'm not seeing any questions. Sylvia, did you receive any questions?
No, there are now no questions at this point.
And bear with us here, folks. It does indicate that there may be some questions that we're not seeing, so please hold tight. Okay, apologies for the delay, folks. I'm not able to see the questions at this time. We're working on getting those provided. In the meantime, I do want a reminder that it is required that the hourly care space tool be utilized on a regular basis to make sure that the accurate number of hourly care spaces is available each day. Okay. Do you have a question that someone would like to see what it looks like if the second child is booked into that hourly care reservation for the infant room? I'll go ahead and process that now. So my hourly care reservations, I'm going to move my date to next week. On Monday the 12th, I have a reservation for this child. I now have an infant that's coming in for the entire day. So I'm going to highlight the entire day, again, clicking and dragging on these little rectangles to the left. In addition, I have the ability to multi-select here using the control key if I need specific times. Okay. This would also apply to if I am in a school-age setting and I have a child that needs care first in the morning and then additionally in the afternoon after school. Using my control key and mouse, I am able to select just the times they need, morning and afternoon, and reserve those times. In this case, we'll see what it looks like if the whole rest of the day is reserved by a second child. In this case, my friend Aiden. Sylvia, if you could mute your microphone, please.
I did. I'm sorry.
Okay, so now that I've made that reservation, if I go back in and take a look, on the 12th, I now see that I have 0 availability, highlighted in red, for these time frames because there are 2 infants, but still have that single person availability on these other times. Okay. If I attempt to book in this space, I will receive this message. Now, as a front desk operations clerk or anyone else making hourly care reservations within CYMS, you do have the ability to override this if you need to for that day, add another child and you know that there is availability but CYMS has not been updated. Online, a parent will not be able to do this and will be rejected for that reservation and will be required to call you for more information. In this case, I don't want to overbook because I know I don't have extra space. There's my warning that I cannot do that. All right. Bear with me while I check on some additional questions here. All right. I have a question here specifically regarding SAC and before and after. For school age, when you are generating your hourly care slots, what you'll want to do is do 2 generations. The first one will be for your morning care time. For the appropriate 12-month interval for when you first do it. Typically SAC has more availability, so I'm going to increase that number, put my dates in. I'm not going to put all of them in, and generate. So same steps as before, but I've shortened my time window to be a smaller portion of time. Now, if I want to generate for my after-school availability, I simply change my times, leave all other items the same, and hit generate. What this does is when I look at my calendar for SAC, I do apologize, I generated some times earlier, so we're not seeing the effect. What's going to happen is that you will only see times that are in the blocks that you have generated them for. And so what it would look like is that only these spots would be available, these time frames, I should say. So if a child does need to make a morning reservation and an afternoon reservation, you can highlight them. You would not see these times if we had a properly generated school-age program. Okay. Now hold on to the next question. Okay. So I have a question about an example of what the parents are seeing when they make the reservation online. I'm going to hold that one for now as I did not have that prepared. Okay, I have a specific question for another site. We'll deal with that offline. We have a question. Do we have permission to charge no-show fees? According to the hourly care fee agreement that the parent signs, yes, no-show fees are authorized, as well as the hourly care fee policy. All right. Good question on the hourly care no-shows and late fees. I did want to show that, and I forgot in the earlier portion. Now that I have charged that family earlier with an hourly care no-show fee, if I go into global sales for that family, once I select them, I will see an additional fee show up on this portion of the screen. This indicates that this is a no-show fee for hourly care. If they're coming in to pay it, I'm going to enter my payment for hourly care no-show here. Please bear in mind, it needs to be entered specifically here. If I enter it here, then the fees will not be paid off, as this portion is for full-time and part-time care. I also do not want to enter it over here, as this is for standard hourly care fees. No shows for hourly care is specifically on this portion of the screen, and I do need to make sure that I enter my payment for it here. Apologies, that was the wrong button. Give me 1 second. So all hourly care no-show fees, if charged through the no-show fee posting program, will post here. Okay. Another question is, do you have to manually turn the suspension off after the 30 days, or is it automatic? You will have to manually turn that suspension off in terms of the comments, but the next time the parent tries to swipe in, that would reset it. It is much safer, though, to go in and manually change the suspension back to active so they can make reservations online, as until that is updated, the reservations online will be blocked. All right. So I have a question about an overview of your vacancies. In my experience, the best way to see what you have available for hourly care is simply go into hourly care reservations. That way, if the parent says, yes, I want that time, you're already in the space you need to make the reservation. And if not, you can also look at another day. There are other scenarios that I didn't look at. For example, you can do a pattern reservation if someone needs a couple hours a day for the next couple of weeks, etc. That can be done through here. So therefore, the best tool for seeing what you have available is to come to this screen and see what's there. Again, also brings you to the spot you need if you do want to make the reservation if the parent says, yes, I want to proceed. Okay. The piece that I just covered in regards to, actually I apologize, this is separate. A question has been asked about changing the space availability for part of a day. So the same program I use to change my availability for a whole week, I can use to change for blocks of time. So if in my infant room for the week of the 19th, I need to make 2 spaces available from 1200 until closing. Essentially, whatever I put for information here is the specific time frames and dates that it will adjust this count. So if I process this, go back into my hourly care reservations, look at 2 weeks from now, and my Monday, one second here. Okay, that was interesting. All right, so here we have on the 23rd that I have my regular times available up until noon for 1 infant slot. And now at this time, I've made additional availability because we have afternoon vacancies for that availability. So 1 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. The bottom line of this is that this program can be run to make any adjustments you need in any combination whenever you need to change this number up or down. If after the fact it's determined that that 2 spaces is not available for all those days of the week, I can come back and set the max count back to 1 for those same dates. Same thing, put in my times that I'm looking for. For just my hourly care room for infant, or sorry, hourly care age group of infant. So I'm back to my same settings that I had before, but instead I put my max head count back to 1. Once I process this, if I go back and look at that week, it's now back to 1 for the entire day. So bottom line, this can be run as many times as you want for as many situations as you have. Okay. Okay. I see another question about not having the register membered update button. If you do not have that button, it may be, it's most likely on the My Home screen. If it's not on that screen, if you have access to it, you can go to your menu here, Function, File Maintenance, Pass, and Pass Member Maintenance. As most sites will not have access to that, the preferable method would be to have that button added to your screen. Please email Sylvia indicating that you do not have that, and she and I will work together to make sure you get access to it. I have a few questions I'll have to follow up on here, as I'll need more information based on what they're asking. Okay, before and after school we covered. Okay, next question has to do with that reserved book time period, which we covered earlier, showed what the message was. Okay, the next question is, are we supposed to put all the hourly people's information in CYMS? Absolutely. The child needs a full file for hourly care, including shots, to make sure they're eligible if they're at CDC. When I say full file, I mean all information pertinent to hourly care. For example, you will not need TFI, as they are not in a TFI-based program, but you do need all the emergency contacts and everything else that would normally go into an hourly care file. The second portion of that question is, they give them a swipe card. It should not happen. Swipe cards are designed for regularly attending children. We want hourly care children not to have a swipe card so that they are approaching the ops clerk when they enter to check in and make sure which room they're going to first, which one has the vacancies for that day, and two, for the ops clerk to have a chance to verify that that child has all of their information on file. Hourly care, shots are up to date. The emergency contacts information is there. And if they are not in CYMS, the parent cannot go online to book them. So it's crucial that they have a file and have filled out all the paperwork. Again, this is for the safety of the children. So we want to make sure that information that is in CYMS to be tracked and used through regular hourly care processing and online. All right, next question has to do is if they show up late. That is covered in the hourly care fee policy, and there are steps in Guide 06 that cover how to do that. Showing that on the screen is very difficult because it involves timing and changing, having the time be accurate for when they're swiping in. I'm not able to show it to you at this time, but there are screenshots and steps in the guide that you can use. Our hope is to record a final version of this webinar that will have those kinds of things that you can see on the screen. But for now, those screenshots will give you the steps you need in Guide 6. Next question is, can somebody be on a wait list for a specific date or time? That is not currently possible. There's no hourly wait list. I believe this is also coming from the previous hourly care guide that was sent out. That is going to be reviewed at some point, and the wait list times will be reviewed at that time. But for now, CYMS does not have the ability to track that. So if there is someone that has that need, you will have to track that on paper, unfortunately. Next question states something about the hourly care policy and no-shows. All I know is what's in the hourly care policy. I would not be able to answer that question. Sylvia will work with Sylvia to get a follow-up on that one. Okay, we covered that one. Collect the no-show fees. Okay, so the late start, which was already asked, we covered that one. All right, we have a specific question here regarding a scenario where a command is paying for care. That one we will hold on to and answer offline and follow up with on that. Okay. I'm not able to show the late show up because it involves manipulating the system. That's not possible at this time. That was asked by a couple of people here. Again, we do have very good screenshots there. In fact, what I can do is, that's the wrong guide, 1 second here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the guide on the screen. So bear with me while I adjust its size to fit here. Okay. All right. So note that we have a table of contents here. And so you can see here that we have a portion here charging for the entire reservation. So there are multiple scenarios to do this depending on how CYMS is used. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move down to the portion of the document and show you the screenshots to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. Okay. So once you've selected the child, next thing is to pick the applicable charge. In this case, we're charging for regular hourly. Here we can see that if it was reservation is in CYMS and the parent is early, you're going to see this message right here. Okay? This is making the assumption that they are showing up prior to 11 o'clock. So if they're early and you do have space to accept them, then you can click yes, and they can start their hourly care at that time. CYMS will automatically charge from the time they swipe into hourly care to when you swipe them out when they leave for the day, at the end of their reservation. In this case, CYMS will charge the accurate fees based on how long they have been there, which is per the policy. If a parent shows up late, which was asked earlier, here's what the screenshots look like. Again, I cannot show you live in the database. I apologize for that, but here's what the screen you will get. So if I'm past the time, so say this person shows up anytime after 11, you're going to see this message. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky and why I have the screenshot in here and some guidance. If the parent is less than 1 hour late and you still can accommodate them, then click OK. CYMS will automatically charge the right fee for the entire time that they are there. If the parent, however, is more than an hour late and you can still accommodate them, you're going to have to enter what the hourly fee is for the time that they are late. Okay? So if it's 2 hours late, then you're going to have to enter $4. What that will do is charge for the first hour they were late, and then CYMS will take care of the second hour that they were late. The reason being is that according to Navy policy, parents are responsible for any portion of the time that they're there for the full $4 an hour charge. CYMS does this automatically, so it's already taken care of an hour at a minimum. You will just have to add a fee for the additional hours on top of that. For example, someone made a reservation and is 3 hours late. You will have to put in $8 on this screen. Okay? I apologize, it's a little convoluted, but CYMS was not fully set up for the Navy policy. We're working on that in the future to get that adjusted. Okay? So if they are more than an hour late, you will have to make an adjustment to make sure they get charged for the full reservation per policy. So on this screen in the late fee field, enter the appropriate amount for time that is more than an hour late. Okay? If they're 2 hours late, you enter for the additional hour they're late, the $4. If they were 3 hours late, you enter $8. If they were 4 hours late, $12. It's always short the charge by 1 hour because CYMS will handle that final hour automatically based on rounding up. Okay. Right. Question is asked, can the parents make a reservation online if they're not in CYMS? Absolutely not. The point of allowing them online is that they have already come into the center. They have gone through the process of signing up for hourly care, given you their hourly care information, including any shots, signatures, etc., and most importantly, have their emergency contacts in the screen, in the system, in case something goes wrong while the child is in attendance. Okay. So it looks like we have a school-age based question here, which is children that are enrolled in after school on a regular basis and have a swipe card, but then are also using hourly a couple times a week for before care, depending on the need of the parent. In that instance, it's a matter of educating the parent that when they come in for before care, because they're not in their regularly attended care, they have to check in with the ops clerk and have the ops clerk sign the child in properly to charge them the fee. Keep in mind, CYMS will charge the hourly fee based on the status on the swipe. I'm just going to go right back up here a little bit. Here is the screen for swiping. This button right here being on hourly and full day, it means it's set for hourly. If it says full day visits only, they will not get charged. So it's important that educate the parent that they need to talk to the ops clerk when they have an hourly care reservation. If they're there for regularly scheduled care, they can swipe into the swipe station as normal. All right, next one is wanting to know if there's a practice option. If you are logging in on a workstation that is going through Citrix, which would be typically an NMCI workstation, then yes, you have an option there to go into CYMS demo where you can practice making reservations to get comfortable with it. If you're at a front desk operations, those ones all, I believe at this point, have been switched over to being connected directly to CNRSE, and so you won't have access to the demo. So on an admin machine through NMCI, if you're logging in through Citrix, you should have the option for demo. All right, we have one more question here that just popped up about being late at the end of the day. Late at the end of the day is handled differently and is handled automatically by CYMS. Any child that's there past closing time, as specified by your hours of operation, CYMS has been set up automatically to start charging a fee 1 minute after you are supposed to close for the day, and will automatically charge the correct fee whether they're there after closing for full-time care or for hourly care. CYMS handles it the same way for both and will automatically add a late fee to the household in the same spot as the no-show fee. No, sorry, in regular hourly care fees. My apologies. Password for the demo should be demo, if anyone's looking to log into demo and do some practice on a Citrix-based machine. Hopefully the screenshots here have answered the question that people had about the late start. Again, I see a few questions here that are more specific. I will take those and work on them after this webinar and get an answer back to the people that asked those questions. We would also like to collect all of these answers that were asked in the webinar and get those together as well to go along with the guide. Again, if you have additional questions after this session is done, please email Sylvia. I'll just put her information back up here for a moment. Please email Sylvia, and she will make sure, and we will work together to collate those and get them out to you. I'll wait just a moment here, see if there's any last-minute questions. Otherwise, thank you all very much for attending. I hope this has been helpful to you and will make it easier for you to use CYMS. The goal here is to get as much of the work as possible off of you folks as staff and allow parents to make some reservations and cancel reservations themselves. The demo of doing online I do not have ready at this time, but we can put something together with some screenshots potentially and show you what it's going to look like for the parent. It's a very, very simplified version essentially that will allow the parent to log on, pick the child, pick the date, and CYMS will automatically filter what they see and tell them what's available and will not let them book anything other than what's available. Because of this, it's a very imperative that everyone is using the hourly care space available tool and making the adjustments to your availability using the hourly reservation max count bump up and down. If there is no reservation availabilities, make sure you take your count down to 0 if there's no availability using your max head count. That will make sure that no reservations can be made online. In addition, if you have extras and can accommodate more, go ahead and put whatever number you can accommodate in this field and bump it up. Final question we have here I will take offline, and it's a very particular one, and we'll get back to folks on that one. Okay. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, email Sylvia, and we will make sure you get an answer. Thank you very much.